Hi, and welcome back to the 40-day challenge and embracing the race. If you saw the thumbnail for this video, right here is my little doggy. He's all curled up. It's one of those, even though it is a bright, sunny day, we were up early. Today I had my first early run group with some of my friends. We sometimes meet up at 5 a.m. and run, and I haven't done it since sometime last fall, right before it started getting too cold in the morning to run. So I'm a little tired, so I'm in, I got my Olaf sweatshirt and nice and cozy. And yes, I'm still in glasses. My eye, even though my eye pretty much feels fine, apparently whatever's wrong with it is still there, so I am still in glasses for at least the next week. Boo. But it is okay. I'd rather have to wear glasses than to put contacts back in too early and have it be a problem. So just, if I could ask a prayer request for me is to pray that this gets better, because it really isn't fun running in these. So today is day 37, and the devotion is called Never Say Never. And it's a really good song too, I believe it's the Fray. But anyway, she starts off with a verse from Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 6. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. I like the story that the author starts off with, because it was kind of me. I mean, I hated running when I was growing up, hated it. And looking back on it now, I think it was because I didn't do it properly. When you're in school and they make you run, I mean, you don't really get to pick when that class is. So sometimes you're running first thing in the morning, or you're running right after lunch, right after you ate, and it feels terrible. Or, running in school really for the most part is never like fun. So, but I hated running growing up, and now, it is officially my hobby. I heard one time on a video, someone say that running was their midlife crisis. And I guess that could be it for me. I don't know if I'm midlife yet, but this is a great hobby and I love it. But anyway, the author talks about how she was running, I guess it was her first time running a half marathon, and it was one of those races where it was a half and a full. And for the first, she says 9 miles, they were on the same course, and then the course would split, and the full marathoners would go one way and the half would go the other way. And she recalls laughing when they got to that point, because she was thinking in her mind, all those people going off to the full marathon side, how crazy they were. She's like, I don't even know if this is her first half marathon, I don't even know if I'm gonna finish this race. Those full marathoners, I'm never gonna do that. Those people be crazy. And I used to think that too about full marathoners, even though my dad has ran, I think at least one, maybe two, or just one, I can't remember. Anyway, so then she says, fast forward 4 years and 6 half marathons later, I'd registered for a full marathon. And then she goes into the story of the day of that full marathon. She gets to that point where they have to split, and she realizes that, all those people that were, going to that full marathon side that she thought were crazy, she's one of those people now, and she's going into unknown territory of, racing a full marathon. And how crazy it was that she was doing something that she said she'd never do. So she shares how many times in our life do we do that? I mean, especially in running. I never, even when I started running, I didn't even think a full marathon would even be on my radar. But after last year when I ran the 13 miles, and I've seen so many stories of people running, I really think the only marathon I'll ever do is a Run Disney marathon, because I don't know if I could run 26 miles on any other course when there's not like things going on, or running through the parks seems very exciting. So I don't know if I'll ever do a marathon besides Disney, but that is definitely the one that I want to do if I only do one. But if you had told me even when I first started running 3 years ago that I would even be considering doing that, would have told you were crazy. I was just going to stick with 5Ks and that would be enough for sure. So we all have that moment where we, say we're never going to do something. And she shares here, she says, maybe God has called you into a season of life you never dreamed you'd find yourself. Or maybe there's an area of your life you're clinging too tightly to, refusing to let go. Perhaps you're gripped with grief and fear, and I underline those two words. Gripped with grief or fear because of an unexpected trial. I think fear is the big one. And she shares a list of things that people say that they're never going to do. Never able to lose weight. Never homeschool. Never leave my hometown. Never invite my neighbor to church, never adopt. All of those, there's plenty of nevers. We all have our own nevers. And she shares, it's possible that your I could never is fear lurking in the deepest part of your heart. Maybe your I could never is something God is nudging you towards, requiring a deeper trust. Whatever it is, God promises to be with us through it all. Let me remind you of a truth where God uses the word never. To those who put their faith in Jesus, he promises to never leave us or forsake us, from Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. Instead of clinging to your I could never, embrace the truth of his promise to never leave you. All right, questions. Have you ever done something after you said you'd never do it? Well, I just shared a whole bunch. Besides anything running related. Growing up, I said I'd never go on roller coasters, and now I love roller coasters. And see, I think fear is the big thing. I think that's what keeps us from doing a lot of things. What caused you to step out and change your mind? Really, for all of those, it was someone coming along with encouragement. Even something as simple as riding a roller coaster. I had a friend. He's like, "Oh, this is fun. You can do it. It's really not that scary." So you can call it peer pressure, but see, peer pressure is a term. It's not always a bad thing. If it's the peer pressure, and roller coasters is a bad example, but peer pressure to do something good, like. You could peer pressure somebody into going to church, and that's not going to be a bad thing. Church is a good thing. Volunteering, things like that. Peer pressure may not always necessarily be a bad thing if you're trying to help somebody do something good for them, Identify an area of your life you're saying never to right now. Ask God to clarify whether it's fear speaking or his gentle nudge. I honestly can't think of anything for me right now. Maybe once life gets back to normal and we're, back on our normal schedule doing normal things, I'm sure there'll be something. I've already mentioned several times how I'm trying to be more in tune with those gentle nudges of God, saying, hey, you should do this particular thing. Go talk to this particular person, or help at this particular event, or, that type of deal. And not to be afraid or anxious about it, nervous. She shares the verse that I mentioned earlier, Hebrews 13:5. Be content with what you have, because God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. And the one thought that isn't mentioned here, but I thought of as I was reading the devotion just now, when it comes to things that we say we never going to do, but maybe God is nudging us to do, is to remember of our own power, sometimes there is things that we, of our own power, can't do. But God wants us to step into that leaning on him, because he can show his strength through that. I think that can happen more often than we let it, that God can touch other people, having us do things that of our own power we couldn't do. So just a little nugget from me at the end of this. But don't ever be afraid of that little nudge that you, because you could be missing out on a blessing for yourself and a blessing for others. Like I've said, I know that there's moments in my life where I have, and I want to not let that happen. I want to be a blessing to others for sure. So another good one. So yes, now at some point this afternoon we are going to take a nap after that 5 a.m. run, but it was good. It was good to see my friends again. So I hope everybody is doing well, and I will see you tomorrow.